Hello everyone and welcome to this discussion of when to do an MBA. When is the right time to do an MBA? Does one do an MBA with some work experience or does one do an MBA immediately after graduation? This is a question that has gained a lot of ground over the last decade, I would say. There are no ready-made answers to this. There is no one definite stance when it comes to when does one do an MBA. All we can do is explore the various pros and cons that are attached to each option, each choice, and see what's most suitable to one. Remember, we are assuming here that a fresher comes with a fairly good academic record, is well read, is well informed, and is flexible, adaptable, and also has high levels of energy. When it comes to a work experienced person, we are assuming maturity of opinion, clarity of work role, work responsibilities. What would be the advantages in doing an MBA as a fresher? As a fresher, one is still a student. He is very much into the student mode, which means he is easily able to adapt to the rigor of study at a B school. He can easily adapt to the demands of the academic curriculum. He has a great appetite for learning, for new knowledge, for new ideas, and is also able to keep an open and unbiased attitude. His perspective tends to be quite unbiased because he has still not experienced anything of the work world or the corporate world. A fresher gets a jump start to his career with an MBA, and therefore X years down the line, he is definitely in a far better position professionally and has a greater earning capacity than his peers who spent a few years in the pre-MBA work mold. And since the jump start that an MBA offers to their career has been delayed by a couple of years. A fresher also finds himself quite trainable and adaptable, which is why recruiters who are looking for people who are adaptable, trainable, prefer a fresher. He can experiment with what he wants. With placements too, he has the possibility of choosing various sectors or different domains, etc. With the lateral hires being put immediately on the job after the induction period, a fresher finds himself put on rotational stints and given training in various stints for almost a year, which is an advantage in terms of his training and enhancement of learning. In the words of an IMB professor, at IMB, the most sought after and the highest paid investment banking internships and later final placement offers are bagged by the youngest students, even aged 19 at the time of applying to IMB in the batch, who are usually BCom freshers. Also, most of the top consulting offers will usually go to the youngest students in the batch with a 3-year degree. Moreover, most freshers at the IIMs do very well in their post-MBA career compared to their age group because of their early start. So, what are the disadvantages that a fresher faces? Since he is a fresher with no real world experience, he might find assimilation of all the new topics and concepts and subjects taught at B school rather difficult, rather challenging. His complete absorption and understanding of all these new subjects might be limited because he has just a theoretical aspect and no real world first-hand experience. Very often companies see freshers as a burden on their training and an investment, a huge investment in terms of training. There are also, companies that prefer lateral hiring simply because youngsters or freshers lack the required communication skills, the required team skills, or sometimes even have unrealistic salary expectations. Recruiters often regard achievements on paper as not necessarily a good measure of practical achievements. A student might show a lot of achievements on paper, but it's felt that the student might not be able to perform in a real world scenario. One more disadvantage for a fresher is the fact that he will have to bear out all the B school expenses on his own, unlike a work experience student who might have had some earnings and therefore some savings which he can utilize for his B school expenses. A fresher will either have to depend on educational loans or for some support from his family, which will bear out the entire expense of the MBA program and start earning and repaying all of that only once he starts working. What therefore are the advantages in doing an MBA post your work experience? Let's assume you work for a year, 2 years or 3 years. What are the advantages of getting some real world experience and then choosing to do an MBA? The best advantage that a work experience student has is that he can relate theory to practice. Having seen real world working scenarios, he is able to understand exactly what those theoretical concepts mean, and hence his learning tends to be very real and very focused. He also tends to be very focused in the fact that he knows why he is here. He knows that he is there exactly for a specific set of skills. He knows what he is looking for therefore. He also knows what career path he wishes to take and what is the specialization that he wishes to get into, because he has learnt this during his work experience tenure. This makes his stay and study at the B school very focused. Placements tend to be easier because a work ex student knows what he wants, has such clarity of thought and purpose. Companies find it easy to assess the achievements or from the achievements of a work experience student what exactly his abilities are. His past work experience tends to be quite quantifiable. Thus, a candidate is able to find the placement that he is looking for. In fact, a lot of companies these days give greater importance to or greater weightage to lateral placements. Since he comes with a lot of real world experience, his interaction with professors at the B school, his interaction with peers during case discussions or group discussions tend to be very meaningful. He tends to bring a lot of experience from his workplace to such learning situations. Not only does he enhance his own learning situation, he is also able to contribute maximum to the learning of his peers and of his batch. Given the fact that someone who's worked for 2 years or 3 years and has got substantial earnings is also able to fend for a bit or some of his B school expense. He is able to pay the fees, if not completely, at least partially, making the burden on his post MBA loan repayment process easier. Work experience is often seen by a lot of companies as quite stifling to the learning capacity and the adaptability of a student by a lot of companies. A work ex student normally finds that his peers or students of his own age are earning far higher than he is currently earning. For example, a work ex student with a 2 years work ex, if he joins a program in 2012 and you have a fresher joining a program in 2012, when both pass out in 2014, they find that the average salary is about 19.5 lakhs, which is the average of a top IM. Which means the 2 years pre-MBA work tenure has resulted in some sort of loss of value for this student. Post MBA salary increases generally being a 15%, the growth for the fresher is far higher. There were 86 students with 36 months or more of cumulative prior work experience in the 2-year PGP batch of 2016 at IIM Bangalore, who got India-based jobs in 54 companies. Their placements, of course, happened in 2018. These 86 students received a median salary of rupees 20.76 lakhs and an average salary of rupees 21.66 lakhs, which is slightly lower than the batch median of rupees 22 lakhs and the batch average of rupees 22.78 lakhs. Placements in the other older IIMs are likely to be similar for their students with 36 months or more of cumulative prior work experience, but the proportion of such students in the batch is likely to be lesser in the other IIMs than at IIMB. ROI, or return on investment, becomes a major point of consideration for those who are earning rather well, rather decently in their pre-MBA job stint. Sometimes even poor experiences during their work tenure might stifle, might prejudice, might bias their complete absorption and understanding of important subjects or concepts or theory. Lateral hires are directly, posted onto their jobs. After a brief period of induction, a fresher will find that he is put on a rotational stint under different mentors, and thus they are nurtured for over a year, whereas a work experienced student will find that this is missing in his placement tenure or once he is placed. B school professors often share this experience that the pre-MBA work experience of a candidate is heavily discounted in the job market. So when we consider that there are pros and cons to either of these options, what exactly should be the way ahead? Each to his own would be the advice that most people give. Nevertheless, for all practical considerations, many B school professors as well as industry experts would recommend something on these lines, which is, if you are a graduate of a good enough college and you are sitting on a decent placement, you've got a placement in college, especially a placement with a reputed company, a well-established company, take that placement, start working, simultaneously prepare for CAT or management aptitude exams. Try, doing well on them and try getting admission into the top B schools of the country. But let's say you are not able to get admission that year for various reasons. Perhaps you were not able to convert an interview, perhaps you were not able to get the required percentile because you found that your aptitude needs some more sharpening. In that case, continue working and try giving these exams the next year. So this advice would work most likely in the case of engineering graduates who generally tend to get some placement offers in college. Whereas in the case of non-engineers, a BCom graduate or a graduate of any other stream for whom campus placements is a challenge, he will find that since good placements are difficult to come by and since he has not a very good job offer in hand, it is best for him to not waste time but plunge into preparing for CAT and management aptitude exams straight away. He must prepare and try his best to get into a good B school. The more time he wastes, the older he gets, and remember, when a company prefers to hire a fresher, it prefers to hire them young. So the younger you are, the greater are your chances at being hired as a fresher. In any case, This was just an analysis of the pros and cons that are attached to either decision. Remember, ultimately it should all boil down to what is it that you wish to do. Do you want to continue studies straight away, or do you really want some exposure to the real world? Whatever said and done, both have merits and demerits. So, once you take a decision, best to stick to that decision and work hard on getting the best productivity or optimal utilization of that decision. So, happy deciding when to do an MBA. Thank you for having watched this video.